Hi, we meaning me and you, are going to be doing a quick video together, just observing, learning about how to deal with natural yeast flakes. So what I have in my hand is a dehydrated batch of natural yeast. And natural yeast is something, I know that if you've looked at or read through anything that I've put on my blog or here on the YouTube channel that I've started, know that natural yeast is something that you can gather from nature. I have actually done it myself from plums in my sister's backyard. Natural yeast is used to leaven bread. So instead of using something that you purchase from the store, it's something that you can gather or in this form, receive. So I'm sending this to a friend of mine, Erica, this is yours. And I wanted to put together, I had a request from her and another friend to put together a video on how to reconstitute the yeast from this state into a usable form, something that you're going to use to make bread and whatever else you want to use it for. I say that, but it's usually just making bread to make other things, pitas or pizza or a kolache bread where you put other things inside, almost like a calzone. So I know a lot of people who use natural yeast also use it to make pancakes or waffles. I typically don't. I use other recipes for that, but this basic bread can be transformed into a plethora of other things. Some of my family favorites are cinnamon rolls, orange rolls, the kolache bread that I mentioned, a pesto bread. So there's a lot of different ways to use it, but you have to have it going, right, to be able to use it. So from this state to this state where I'm actually going to make a loaf of bread at the end of this really fast. I had another request to make a quick video, a fast version of making the bread. So let's see if we can get 2 in 1. I've got 3 jars here and I'll hold them up so you can see each one individually. They each have a different lid and we'll go over that really fast. So this is the first state of the yeast flakes. So it is only a tablespoon of the yeast, a 1/4 cup of filtered drinking water, and then it's in a jar that's not super tight. You don't want to eliminate all the air circulation. This is a living organism. You need to be able to make sure airflow is maintained. So this is the first state. You would put this on your countertop where it can just kind of soak for about 6 to 8 hours. So that is, this has already been about 6 hours and it gets cloudy, the flakes get mushy, and the next stage is adding a 1/4 cup of flour. That's it, and that's where we're at here. And it looks a little bit of a mess, and I don't know that you can see all the activity, but there are bubbles throughout here. This is ready. This is the next stage. This is ready for, it's the next stage, the final stage before we get it to the point of using it. So this needs to have another 1/4 cup of flour and another 1/4 cup of water, and then it'll sit on the counter for 6 to 8 hours. So each of these stages will be 6 to 8 hours. And I don't know if you saw the lid on this, but this is just a old jam jar. The jam is gone, eaten up, but I love this size of jar. It's something that my small hands can grab, and I don't know, it's just easy, and it's easy to share. We go through a lot of jam in the house, so I always have something that if someone's asked for the yeast, I can share and just keep the jar. All right, final stage. We are ready to use this and make bread. You can see all of the activity going on in here. And you've got a little bit of water or the byproduct down here. My friend Michael Stanley always kind of makes fun of me. He's like, "Joe, that's alcohol. It's fermented." I say, "I know. It's just wastewater. That's all it is." This is a sourdough. So when you have natural yeast that you're using, it will smell sour. It is a sourdough. And it will also take on its own personality. From my kitchen to your kitchen, it will be different. It will act different. You'll have to kind of get to know the rhythms and personality that the yeast will have in your own home. I like to tell people that they need to name it because it's a living organism. It's a pet. Mine is Dottie. And I think some of my favorite names that I've heard people have named their yeast is Fester and Joe's Dough. So I think I got something named after me. This is the third lid. So all these lids, no matter which lid you do use, you want to make sure that it is put on so that it's not airtight. With that being said, this is a jar lid that normally we would use and flip this way so that it is airtight. We do not want that. So if you have a jar lid with this rubber ring, you flip it so it's upside down. Wrong way. You flip it so it's upside down so that it does not become airtight. My favorite jar lids are these leak proof by Ball, and they come in wide or narrow. And then just keep it loose. So what I usually do is I turn it on all the way and then I come off so it's wiggly. And that way you know you've got enough airflow. All right, that's it. So stage 1, water with yeast flakes. Let it sit for 6 to 8 hours. Next stage, add a 1/4 cup flour. Let it sit 6 to 8 hours. Next stage, add another 1/4 cup flour and a 1/4 cup water. Let that sit 6 to 8 hours. And at that point, you can do one of two things. You can use it immediately, which is what we're going to do right now, and make a bowl of bread dough, or you can go stick it in your fridge. So the pioneers, if you read pioneer journals, especially ones that are about cooking, they'll talk about their little crock of yeast here. Just like this, we have the ability, however, to kind of suspend the productivity or when we use the yeast. If we were pioneers and this was on our counter day in and day out, you'd be using it every day. And in the wintertime, you'd be sleeping with it to keep it warm enough to be able to use. But we don't have to do that. We can suspend what's going on by just putting it in the fridge and using it. I typically, what do I tell people? I say use it at least once a week. If you use it once a week and you give it food and water, food being flour, water, and lots of air, and you mix it up, it should, I've seen people just use it in that way just once a week. I use mine about every, I don't want to say every day because it really, sometimes it is, it just depends on what's going on. It's either every day or every 2 to 3 days. So, and I keep 2 jars. That's another thing. When you're using this, you can share it in this form, ready to use, or you can share it in this form. But you do have to get that ready for use. Okay, have enough time. We're gonna put together a quick bowl of bread. This is how fast it is, y'all. And it's a little bit of a cheat because I already had my stuff pulled out. But that's fine. I can cheat a little bit. So what we're going to measure out is 3 large cups of all-purpose flour. I personally prefer unbleached organic. It's not a deal breaker if you don't have that, but if you can, use something that is the least processed, and that will be unbleached and organic. 1 teaspoon salt. Natural sea salt is what I typically use. I'm already getting stuff all over me. I usually cook with an apron on because I make a mess. 1.5 cups of filtered water. Honey, and just look away if not measuring bothers you. It's about 1/4 cup, maybe 1/3 of a cup. My kids like it, for sure they like it when it's sweeter. And watch the directions on the orange rolls. The orange rolls will have different measurements for liquid. So I think the orange rolls are the only thing that have different liquid measurements, but about 1/3 of a cup to 1/4 cup of the natural yeast. And basically I just took half of that jar that was ready to go, and then we mix. So once you have the flour and salt together, you want to mix those dry ingredients really quick. It doesn't take much. And then I kind of keep things in the center: the water, the honey, the natural yeast. And this is a Danish, that is not a word, Danish dough hook to mix things up. It goes a little faster than a wooden spoon, but I mean, if I was camping, I would just do this with a fork. It's not a requirement that you have to have anything special or fancy. Sometimes it's just nice to have something special and fancy. All right, so this is actually a good thing. I'm gonna just show you real quick. Sometimes your dough might be a little too dry. I've got a big, not a huge, but just a little bit of a pile of unmixed flour. I can sit here and finish working it in, or I can add just a little bit of water. It's not enough. I mean, it's less than 1/4 cup of dough and flour that wasn't really mixing in. This is sticky enough that I can get it there without adding water. But if it wasn't combining, I would add just a little bit of water, finish combining, cover, and it'll process for anywhere. Right now we're heading into some humid summer months, so a lot of times this will be a little bit of a shorter process, but typically it's anywhere from 16 to 24 hours depending on the heat and the humidity of our house. So yeah, it's almost 2 p.m. Probably bake this tomorrow morning before noon sometime, somewhere around the 20 hour mark, and enjoy. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I'll get to it, and have a great day. Don't know what else to say. Have a great day. YouTube video. Bye guys.